Artificial intelligence has been notorious for hallucinating, which means it makes stuff up. And if you're running a business of expertise, and most consultants are, you ought to be sure that the information you're gathering is true and from a trusted resource. Today on the show, I want to show you a new update for ChatGPT that is enabling you as a consultant to actually get more accurate and deeper research for you in your consulting business. My name is Russell Pearson. This is episode 122 of the Your Consulting Business podcast, which is a podcast for consultants who are running and growing their business. Today on the show, I want to talk about the new feature that's been released by ChatGPT and how you can be using it to get deeper research and actually get more information around your area of expertise so that when you're going out to colleagues and you're going out to clients, that you are accurate and on point. Now, I'm going to walk you through the software and how you can use it in just a minute. But before I do, why should you care? Why is this something worth noting? Well, number one, we can actually start looking at more accurate sources of information. And in fact, it won't just give you one source of information the way it used to with the old ChatGPT. It'll actually find you multiple sources and citations that you can go and check out yourself. Just to make sure that you are being 100% credible and that the information you're getting is truth rather than my truth or your truth. We can actually find some information that has academic citations. The other reason is the speed of this research. So where it may have taken days, if not weeks, to actually find this information, whether it be for an academic paper or even a doctorate, now it's taking sort of 10 to 15 minutes to actually sort through all sorts of different papers and bring them all back for your review. This is the Matrix, people. This is the start of the movie where Neo is running a search and it's out there actually doing the work in process and finding all these resources. Once you run this thing, you'll 100% see what I'm talking about, where it actually will show it's working and grab sources one at a time. And obviously the big reason why you'd want to use this feature is it's going to enable you to win a hell of a lot more arguments. So let's go and have a look at the software. So here we are on ChatGPT, and this is the area we would normally ask a question. And you'll see down here that there are a number of new tools. Now, besides deep research, there's also Image DALL-E, which was actually something that they already put into the system, and Canvas, which is more around writing code. But deep research is the one we want. So if you click deep research, it actually changes the frame from what can I help you with to what are you researching. Now, I've put a question in there earlier today, and let me show you the results. So here's what I've asked it. I've said, I'm researching the effects of high-protein diets on gut health. Now, that is not my area of expertise, but I actually do have a little bit of knowledge around this area. The reason I'm interested in this is I just watched an interview on Diary of a CEO, and the expert was talking about high-protein diets, and in fact, those that create ketones were not having an effect or a negative effect on gut health. Now, interestingly, I have done many high-protein diets in the past, and my understanding or my thought was that it actually did have an effect on gut health. So what happened to me is I had to remove 30 centimeters of my large intestine, which is why I care about this question. And so it's then asked me, so I've asked the question, researching the effects of high-protein diets on gut health. Then it asked for specificity. It's asking, like, can you tell me specifically what you want to know? So I say, I want to know two things. Does a high-protein diet negatively affect gut biome health? And is it the cause of diverticular and diverticulitis? Because obviously that was the reason why I ended up having a bowel resection. So enough about me. It then gets into, I'll look into the effects, and it gets started. Now, it didn't just instantly come up with this resource. It walked through a process that followed this path here on the side. And so it starts with, I'm looking into high-protein diets, effects on the gut microbiome, the potential link to et cetera, and it goes through and it researches. And while it's doing its research, it's actually reading. It's going and having a look at this resource here, which is, I'll show you what that is. It actually goes to the National Library of Medicine, and it did a search, and then it found some papers about these things. And as it's doing it, these are the papers that it's reading. And so they come up in real time. And I'll show you in just a moment, we'll come up with another question, and I'll show you how it works. But it does take a little while. It's interesting because it just ran this search for about 10 minutes before it finally, after doing all these different activities and finding all these different resources, came back with this. So it's kind of its own little paper. It gives me an introduction as to, the background, what it thinks, the impact and what it found. And then it gives me citations for each of these, which I can go and check out myself. So incredibly useful. Whether it's you'll have to run your own search to find out the conclusion for you. Although in summary, high protein diets can have a mixed effect on gut health, and I wasn't surprised to find that they would have a mixed response at the end of it. But I can now look at these citations and really start to go deeper if I would like, without having to do a whole bunch of resources or research at the start. All right, so here's a new page, and let's do a search in real time. I haven't done this search before, so I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm going to show you how it goes. I have already typed it out. So let's do the effectiveness of email marketing versus social media and generating leads for professional services. I think that's fine. I've got to remember to hit the deep research button because I went to do it before and I didn't. And now it's going to do research. Now I'll click the button and we'll see what happens. To compare the effectiveness of email marketing versus social media for generating in professional services. What industries? Okay, so I'm just going to answer some questions here. Right, so it's asked me these questions. I've just given it industry being professional consulting. I know that's broad, but there's the focus. Target is B2B. Metrics, number of qualified email and phone contact details. And then the social media one, I went with all of them. So, all the main ones, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Let's click that one and see what happens from here. So I'll research the effectiveness. Yeah, now it starts doing its research. Right, and this can actually take a little bit of time. I'm looking at the time now, and I will let you know exactly how long it's going to take because I'm not going to have you do this fully in real time. But as it's doing its research, it'll then start letting me know what it's doing, and it'll also, let me see if I can scroll down a little bit. Yeah, here we are. It starts doing these activities on the side. So I'm evaluating the effectiveness of email marketing. All right, that's just telling us how it's starting. But now it's running a search. And this is the matrixy thing that I was talking about before. It's now running a search. I can go away. I can go and make a cuppa if that's what I want. Or I can go and do anything. I can go and do some other work. And it'll start doing this work for me. So really useful to actually set something like this up before you have to go and go into a meeting or whatever it might be, and it can run it in the background so you've got an answer when you come back. So it's having a look at all these different sources. It's creating the sources for me. So these are the places it's looking. It's going to compile specific articles and reference points where it's getting its information from. And it'll deliver it all in a summary, which I will skip ahead to now so I can show you the summary after it's complete. All right, so you can absolutely see that it took some time. In fact, it took exactly 7 minutes to complete that research. And you can see over here we've got the specific sources. So we could click on these, open them up, and it gives us a result. Now, you can define that you want academic resources or scientific resources or whatever it might be. Obviously, we're in marketing, so nothing scientific. But you can absolutely see that you can then go and check on these, right? So it'll tell us which ones are the most useful as well, and it'll tell us how they are being chosen. So right within here, we can see it's talking about the reasons why it's looking at some of these things. So after it looks at Rainx, it goes, I'm mapping out the effectiveness of email on Instagram, considering open rates, conversion rates, costs. Then it goes and searches for all those things. Then it finds some additional elements. And then further on down, it actually talks about debunking some of the things that it found so that it can actually compare them. And here's another example. Okay, let me see. LinkedIn shows a 20 to 50% reply rate, while email is 10 to 20%, and then it takes that information, it finds further and deeper information to compare it to. So let's have a look at the results. So in the B2B professional consulting sector, generating qualified leads with email and phone contacts requires leveraging channels that reach decision makers. Yeah, and so there's the social media platforms, but then it talks about the actual conversion rate. Now, it was kind of a trick question. I thought this was an interesting question to ask it because you can't email someone without having an email, right? And so it's a little bit of a trick question there. But here we're talking about recipients filling in forms, and it does talk about the actual generation, the lead generation itself. So I think it's incredibly valuable, not even just for the point of view of like, maybe I want to write a piece on this question, but also for myself to really dig deeper into some of these resources and question my own expertise. So look at the amount of information it's given me, and then given me a short list of sources. So if I went and just had a look at those sources on their own, that's going to be incredibly valuable for my own expertise and my own information, so that I can then start using those within my own education and in my own communication. So if you are wanting to take your business and your expertise seriously, if you're continuing to deliver expertise and you want them to be up to date, then I recommend getting a paid subscription, not necessarily to ChatGPT, but that's what I've chosen to do, but any of the deep research partners that you can use to make sure that you are staying up to date with the area of expertise in which you work. Now, ChatGPT is one I've chosen, and it's one I use on a regular basis. There are other fantastic apps as well. Consensus.app is one that you can go check out that has some really good user experience and has some really good features. Then you've got Cite.ai, which is another one that you can use. Both of those I've checked out and are fantastic in doing what they do, which is to find deep research and citations that you can go and research afterwards. But whatever you choose, I think now is the time to really start getting on board having these things as a research partner, and having these artificial intelligences being a partner to accelerate and amplify your ability to help clients get results. So I'd like to hear from you. Are you using software like this? Do you have a research partner in an artificial intelligence? What problems have you found with them? What are you currently experiencing? Have you checked out the new features? And even on these new features, what isn't working the way that you would like? I'd love you to let me know, either by going to russellpearson.com and actually sending me an email, or you can let me know in the comments below. If you find value in videos like this, I'd love you to subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified when the next video becomes available, and go back and check out the past catalogue of over 121 different episodes of the Your Consulting Business podcast. And if you haven't already, go to russellpearsonprograms.com. We have a rotating number of different resources that are available absolutely free there for you if you're running a consulting business. My name is Russell Pearson. This is episode 122 of the Your Consulting Business podcast. Until next time, stay passionate, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.